earlier we talked about the brilliance of Vladislav Tretiak, who goes down as one of the greatest goaltenders in international hockey, if not the greatest. A, is he the greatest, in your opinion, from all the international hockey we've seen from 1972? Number two, how do you think Vladislav Tretiak would have done if given the opportunity to play in the National Hockey League? He was drafted by the Montreal Canadiens, and for years there were people salivating at the prospect of him coming over to North America. It never happened till his later years when he became a goaltending coach and advisor, I believe, for the Chicago Blackhawks. After seeing Tretiak in 1972, what was your impression, and how do you think his NHL career would have gone if he had that opportunity?
Speaking through my 12-year-old eyes again, looking at that series, and I was a goalie at the time, and I remained a goalie for 40 plus years. Tretiak became almost like a hero for me at that time. When I was 12, when I was 13, 14, 15, I wore the number 20 in minor hockey for a couple of years because of Vladislav Tretiak. He was a big guy. He would have been very good in the NHL with the style that he played, with the size that he had. He didn't have to come out and challenge much. He just basically, he came out and he stood there. He did play his angles very well, but he was big, and that helps a lot. And his game was very conducive to the NHL game at that time, which basically, as I've talked about a few times, wingers up and down the wings, center in the center, point men play at the point. I think he would have been very, very good. The thing about Tretiak and what he did, the way it played out for him, was absolutely perfect for Vladislav Tretiak, because what he did was he gave us little tastes of what he could do. 72, the Super Series in 75 and 76 when he went to Montreal, that famous New Year's Eve game that ended up 3-3. Montreal outshot them 35-13, and Tretiak was amazing. And the Forum crowd, I don't know if they were trying to lure him into Montreal, but they just adored him. And watching, if you go back and watch a replay of that, it's like watching the opera, and the fans are as much a part of that game on the New Year's Eve game, 1975, December 31st, 1975. The fans were as much a part of that game as the players were. And you can hear them go, ooh and ah, and everything, every moment. They were so in tune with that game. Tretiak wrote a book about 1990, and I remember reading it. And he had a love affair with the Montreal fans. He was in love with the Montreal fans as much as they were in love with him. It was really, really cool. Just imagining what he could have done in a Montreal uniform. Now, mind you, at that time, you go from 72 to about 1985, which would have been his wheelhouse of time. Montreal had a pretty good goalie in Ken Dryden at that time. It would have been really, really, I want to say difficult, maybe not difficult, but it would have been very interesting to see the soap opera that would have played in Montreal at that point if those two guys were in the house at the same time.
Well, Dryden ended his career in, 79? After the Stanley Cup in 79, they won their 4 in a row, and then Dryden, again at a young age, left professional hockey. Could you imagine if they had brought in Tretiak in 1980? Just the whole thought process a lot different then than it was today. And we had to wait, I think, another 8 years before the first Russian player played in a National Hockey League game.
Shawn, one other thing I wanted to mention, too, about Tretiak is that in 1972, he was only 20 years old. He was a kid. You think back to when you were 20, and when I was 20, would I have been able to handle that kind of, that whole onslaught of everything? I don't think I would have. Now, I'm trying to remember, there was something that happened in his personal life. I don't know if he was married at the time or if his wife had just given birth. So the thought among NHL people was that Tretiak would not be able to focus fully on the series. So just shoot from every angle. And the NHL guys did that, and they made Tretiak looked like the second coming of Jacques Plante. They made him look amazing.